Hi, in this one we're going to map the sustain samples, and I'm actually going to make a new HISE file for this, so we're still in our same project, but I'm just going to go to File and New, and I'm going to save this by pressing Ctrl S, so that triggers the Save Archive command, and I'm just going to call this Sustain Mapping. So let me show you how that looks in the project folder. So here's our project. In our XML preset backups, we have our main project file, the Rustic Violin XML. And remember, we should only ever have one XML file. But if we go to the presets folder, we now have, there's our Rustic Violin, rusticviolin.hip, and here's one I've just made, sustain mapping. So this is something I often do when working on projects. If I want to work on separate bits in isolation, I'll make a new file and then save it as a .hip, and that won't affect the main project XML file, but it'll just let me work on it in isolation, and I can figure out what I'm trying to do before I bring it into the main project. And in this case, I'm doing it just so I can sort of explain the sample mapping in isolation, and then again, we're going to bring it into the main project. So I'm going to add a sampler, and then I'm going to go to the project directory tab, and we're going to go down to our samples, and we're going to open the sustain samples. So we only have one round robin for these, and we have 3 dynamics. And what we're going to do is we're going to map each dynamic to a separate round robin group. So although they're called round robin groups or RR groups in HISE, they don't have to be used for round robins. They're just another way to map samples, so you can just think of them as another dimension. So we've got 4 main dimensions for mapping samples in HISE. We have samplers themselves, in which we can load a sample map. And then within those we have the note range, so 0 to 127. We have the velocity range, 0 to 127. And then we have groups, or round robin groups. But just think of them as groups, because that's really what they are. They're a way to group samples, and you can use them for round robin, and that's their default behavior in HISE, which is why they're called round robin groups. But you don't have to use them for that purpose. So we're going to select all of our sustain samples, and we're going to drag them into the mapping editor, and select file name token parser, and click OK. So as before, we're ignoring the first 2 tokens, the Rustic Violin and the articulation name. We're setting the note number to single key and number. For the dynamic though, we don't want it set to velocity spread. We need to change this to RR group. And again, it picks up the items because we've got the custom data mode, and it figures out it's 1, 2, and 3. So let's click OK. And it's correctly mapped them to 1, 2, and 3. However, it hasn't updated the groups here, so sometimes that happens. So just change that to 3 and click OK. So we should see the samples in the 3 groups, and we do. Now we'll select the samples and click this button again to fill in the gaps. And we'll just extend this top one. And let's zoom in. OK, so now let's save our sample map. We'll call it Sustain XML. Okay, so to allow us to use groups for crossfading dynamic layers, we need to go to our sampler's settings. So let's open the sampler. Let's go to Sampler Settings. And here's the group settings. We're going to enable this option, Group XF, which stands for Group Xfade. We're going to set that to enabled. And the Edit XF becomes available. And here we can choose different groups. So you can have up to 8 groups for crossfading. You can actually have more, but it will only show 8 here. And generally the only reason you would want more is if you're combining round robins and dynamic crossfades using the group system, but that's a more complicated topic and requires some sophisticated scripting. So what these tables allow us to do is to set the volume curve that we want for each group based on the crossfade modulator. So first, let's add a crossfade modulator. So we're going to go to this tab here, Group Fade, and click that. And let's just scroll down. So now we get a group fade modulation chain, and here we can add a modulator that we want to use to control the crossfade. And usually that's going to be something like a CC modulator, but you could use velocity, for example, if you wanted to, or an LFO, or even a random modulator. I'm going to add a continuous controller, MIDI controller. So that's set to CC1 by default, so that's my mod wheel. Let's scroll up. So when I play a note and move my mod wheel, we should see a bar appear in here. And that's a little loud actually, so I'm just going to pull the volume down here temporarily. So this line represents the current position of my mod wheel, and this represents the volume of this group. So all three groups are being triggered at once. And actually, if we open the HISE controller, we can see how many voices are being triggered. So here we have the performance label, and it shows the voices there. So if I press one key, but all three groups are being triggered, we should see 3 voices. And we do. So all 3 groups are triggered because we've got the X-fade mode turned on. And this line for my mod wheel represents where we are on the table, and the table represents the volume. So if I'm all the way to the left, we're not going to hear anything, we get silence. And as I move the mod wheel to the right, we increase the volume. So with this setup, all 3 groups are having the same volume curve, which isn't what we want. We want to control the curve across the dynamics. So when the mod wheel is at the left, we should only hear the low dynamic group. When the mod wheel is at the right, we should hear the high dynamic group. And in between those values, we should hear a mix of all 3 layers, so we get that smooth transition from the low dynamic to the high dynamic. So now we need to use these tables to set the volume fades across the range of the mod wheel. So for the first group, group 1, we want, when the mod wheel is all the way to the left, we want the maximum value. And when the mod wheel is in the middle, so you can see there it says 50%, we want it to be at the lowest value. So the first dynamic will have faded out by here, and we'll pull this one down. Then for the second group, we want it to be the highest in the middle, and we want it to fade out at each end. And for the third group, we want it to be highest at the end, and fade out in the middle. So it's going to do a fade in from here to here. And you can play around with these if you want, for example, the first group to fade out a little further, or a little earlier. You can play around with those, and sometimes you can get more musical results that way. But the usual starting point is this setup we've got here. Now you can adjust the curves here to create equal power fades if you want, but I don't find that is so necessary if you use the smoothing value here, which adds a kind of lag time. I usually set this to about 500. And that tends to negate the need for manually adding curves here. But you can also do things like S-shaped curves if you wanted to. So whatever you find more interesting and whatever works for the samples you're working with. Now I've just done this manually and that took a little bit of effort. So let me just kind of reset this. So it doesn't really matter, something like that. So there's actually a shortcut in HISE to do this. So if we just go to this X-fade on here, and we can actually also see it here in the big view, and we click on that, it brings up these 3 tables. And like I say, it's the same thing here. So here we can see an overview of all 3 tables at once. And if we go up to here and click crossfade for 3 tables, HISE will automatically set up the fades as I just did manually. So now when I play a note and move my mod wheel, we'll see the position of the mod wheel and where it is on the volume curve for each group. So this will give us a nice visual overview of what's happening. So we're hearing quite a smooth transition there. That's because we've got the smoothing value on, and also these samples are well tuned. But we're not hearing any change in volume, so it's just a difference in the timbre between the different dynamics that have been recorded, and that's because these samples have been normalized. So we also need to add in a volume modulator to control the volume at the same time as controlling that crossfade. So if we go back to our sampler, we'll go to gain. I'm just going to close up the body section here just so we can focus on the gain. And I'm going to add another controller modulator here, MIDI controller, but this time to the gain section. And again, it can have CC1. I'm turning the intensity down slightly just so we don't get silence when the mod wheel is at the lowest value. We want to have some sound still. Okay, so let's hear it now. So now we're getting a change in volume. I'll show you what happens if we leave the intensity at 100%. So you can see it's a bit too much there. We're getting complete silence at the left-hand side. Now you may want that, you may not, but I usually pull this down a bit if I'm going for a realistic volume curve. Now something I like to do to sort of refine the response of this crossfade is adjust the curves of each modulator. So I'll open the table for the modulator and I might pull it down a bit there so it sort of ramps up more slowly. So you can see although my mod wheel is in the middle position, because we've got this curve, it translates to being at the lower end of the dynamic fade. And I might do something similar with the gain. Or I might even push it the other way and have it sort of amplify in the middle. It really depends on the samples I'm working with and what I think is going to work in the final instrument and sound the way I want it to. So play around with it and adjust it for your samples. Get it to sound how you want. There's no right or wrong way to do this. For this instrument though, I'm happy to just leave it with a linear fade, so I'm just going to disable the tables. Okay, so that's the setup. We've demonstrated it in this simple little separated project, and I'm just going to save it again. And now I'm going to go back to the main project and add these modulators to the sampler there. So we'll open the XML. And it's sampler 0 we are interested in. Let's load our sustain sample map. And we need to go to sampler settings and enable the group crossfade. Set the curves. We'll open the gain chain, and we already added the CC modulator here, but I'm going to pull down the intensity. And we just need to add the group fade modulator and increase the smoothing to 500. And we're all set. So let's save the main project. Ctrl-Shift-S to save the XML. Okay, let's open the sampler workspace again. And we'll pull down the top section. We haven't looked at this part yet. So this is the waveform view or waveform editor, and if we just go to the first group and select a sample, it gives us a visual of the sample so we can see it here, and we get a little mini map up at the top. We can zoom in by holding Ctrl and scrolling with our mouse. And you can also zoom here by clicking these two buttons. When you're zoomed in, you can use this little mini map to scroll around the sample quite quickly. Now these samples have been trimmed quite nicely, so they're quite accurate, but if you wanted to adjust the start or end position, you can click this P button here, and you get a cursor, and when you click, it will move the start position. You can also adjust it down here where it says sample start. You could enter a specific value. You can right click to open a slider. Or of course you can use these plus and minus buttons. We also have the same for the end of the sample, but instead of left clicking, you can right click. And that will position the end of the sample, and again, we can adjust it here. We can tweak the volume of the sample, and the thumbnail updates to give us an idea of how we're adjusting it. We can adjust the panning, and we can also tweak the pitch up or down. We can enable looping in our sample by clicking this button, and we can adjust the loop points by left clicking or right clicking, so this blue area represents the range of the loop. If you're not seeing the blue cursor, it means you need to click this L button to enable editing of the loop range. For fine-tuning loops, you can click this button here to open the loop finder, and click this button here to automatically try and find a good match close to the range you've selected, and you can adjust the start and end of the loop in finer detail here as well. Once you've found a loop you're happy with, you can click this tick button to save it, and you can also audition the start and end of the loop by clicking this button here. So, as you heard, that's not a particularly good loop, but I'm just demonstrating the controls. You can add some crossfade time to your loop, and you can see this yellow section appears over the waveform showing the crossfade area, and in the loop finder you can adjust the curve of that crossfade with this slider. And whatever value you set for the curve shape applies to all samples in the sample map, not just the sample you've got selected. I'm going to disable looping because we're not going to use it in this instrument, but if you want to go in there and add the loop points and just play around with it and practice, that's a good idea, so feel free to do that. Another useful button we have here is the normalize button, so if we select a bunch of samples and click this button, it will normalize them, and this can be useful if you're importing samples that haven't already been normalized. I believe this normalizes them to 0 dB, and the samples I've imported I think are normalized to -3 dB or something like that. We also can switch between a waveform view and a spectrogram view, and that can be really useful, especially when you're trying to find good places to loop the samples, and I find it very useful for setting up release triggers as well. You can adjust the settings for the spectrogram from this little drop-down menu, so play around with the settings there to find out what gives you the best representation of your samples. When you're editing samples and just sort of tweaking these settings and you want to go through a lot of samples, or if you're perhaps positioning the start position of a lot of samples, it can be quite tedious to come down here and click on a sample, then go up here and make an adjustment. So what I do is I click on the first sample I'm working on, and you can audition it by pressing the spacebar, and you can stop it by pressing the spacebar. So that's really useful because it means you don't have to keep playing the keys on the keyboard just to audition a sample you're working with. And then you can use the cursor keys on your keyboard, the left, right, up and down arrows, to move around the sample map to switch between different samples. And I find this especially useful when I've got a large sample map with hundreds or even thousands of samples and I want to make manual adjustments to them. It's nice to be able to just get through them really quickly using the keyboard. Okay, so let's just save our sample map one more time. And we'll press Ctrl-Shift-S just to make sure our project is up to date. So now we've mapped all the samples, the staccato, pizzicato and sustain, and we've set up the modulators for our samplers. Head over to the next video where we're going to discuss compressing the samples to monoliths. I'll see you there.